name is Alex, and I host internship from time to time. And today I'm feeling training. And Cyril told me that you got a job offer.
Yes, yes, I did. It,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. And it's nice to meet you.
Likewise. So, I'm really happy for you, and I'm looking forward to hear details. If any details you want to share with us, like if you can let us know how was it, and whether it was easier for you or difficult, or what how challenging that process was for you. That would be great to hear, like, your story. And
Of
if
course.
other students have any questions to ask, to address, that would be great if you can help students to answer their questions.
Sure. Um, the prior to my position, um, the offer that I got today, I had no IT background or experience. Learnix was my first opportunity with that. Um, the I would say right now, just because I didn't start the position, so I can't give you, I guess, exact details as to how fully my day-to-day is going to go as of yet. I do have healthcare background experience, and so that was the area that I decided to focus on. I would say, if I could offer a tip, if you think about your transferable skills. If you're in a specific industry right now, maybe try to look for testing in that area. I did notice that it was a lot easier for recruiters to reach out to me when I position that way, as I was looking to do testing in the healthcare industry. Obviously, this will differ from person to person. I hope that my example is clear. But whatever your transferable skills are, whatever industry you're in, maybe positioning yourself that way on job boards, online, definitely does help. Um, so that was the first thing that I noticed. The position is with a health insurance company called Cigna. And so I stayed within that realm. Um, I can give you guys uh, basically a rundown of the questions that I was asked in the interview. Um, I got on the interview with them. They basically explained the position. I'm basically going to be analyzing contract rates for health insurance companies. So all of the different plans price the claims different ways. I'm going to be analyzing that data and making sure that it's pricing the claims correctly for payment. Pretty boring, and especially if you haven't previously been in the industry, it can be very thing. So this is very niched, but I hope that I can be of help to you guys very quickly. So yes, they explained the position, and then he kind of gave an intro about himself and his background. Then he asked me to tell him about myself. And I kind of have a specific way of doing this. I don't know what, again, go with the coaches, what they suggest and things of that matter. But when I do my tell me about myself, I kind of conversationally go through my resume experience, and I kind of talk about what I do on a day-to-day basis. When I was working claims previously to jumping into this industry, I didn't realize that I kind of also was doing testing as well, for a lot of the EMR systems and claims processing systems that we were using. I just needed to get connected with Learnix to learn about, creating those bug tickets and the real theory of testing and things of that nature. So I just figured out a way to kind of clearly more explain that on my day-to-day basis as to what I was doing and what tools I used during the day. If I participated in any meetings, I kind of just walked through my work experience. And once I did that, to be honest, he seemed pretty impressed. And I noticed that that cut the questions down in my interview like in half. Because I explained a lot of, if he was going to ask me if I used any tools, I explained what I, did. Another thing that I did before I went into the interview, I studied the job description, and I figured out a way to um, tailor the way that I was explaining my job duties at each position based on the description. So I feel that that was something that helped me as well. That he seemed very impressed by. Like after I said certain things, like he was like, "Oh, that's great," because that's what we were looking for. And I was like, "I know." So like kind of
Because you guys included that in the job description, so I'm just following your job description
right,
plan, right?
right.
That's
So
smart.
I thought that that was funny when that happened because I was like, duh, that's what you put there. But yes, so that was that. And then typical interview questions. He asked me, it was very situational. So I guess if I would have to give any more advice with that is focus on situational answers. He asked me about a time that there was a challenge on the team and how I participated in kind of triaging and fixing that. So I talked about a bug that happened at one of my positions with the claim processing system that we were using, and how I participated in basically reporting that bug and getting that information over to development. The other question that he asked, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Um, what do you do if the um, what do you do if you basically don't have a lot of product requirement documents? What do you do if you feel that your outline as to how you're supposed to be doing your testing is ambiguous? If you don't have a good outline. And I basically said that I would go through whatever documentation we already previously had. I like to be efficient. I try to find the answer first for myself without et cetera, et cetera. And I basically just said, I would go back to our email threads and see what information I can pull from there. I would go back to our calls. And then I said that I would reach out to management with what I have and just explain that based on what I have, I don't feel that I have enough information to efficiently test the application or the product. And so would they be able to provide me with any additional documentation, et cetera, et cetera?
By the way, what is the title or name of this position?
It is a QA analyst.
QA analyst. So,
Yes.
and what are the responsibilities? What you have to do on this position? Just aside analyzing documents, what else?
It is data validation. And so I will be running test cases on the uh, application for the contracts, as well as reporting defects.
Uh, will you have to create test cases as well, or you run test cases written by somebody else?
Yes, I will have to create them.
Okay.
Some of them will already be there when I'm coming in because I'm coming in the middle of their sprint that they're doing right now. But I will have to create test cases in the future.
Okay. Did you create or did you try to create any test cases on while being on internship or not yet?
Yes, when I
Okay.
did the internship, I created test cases as well. I
Okay. So
described that when I did my intro, so I think that that's why he didn't really ask me, okay, how would you write a test case?
mhm.
Um,
Awesome. Yeah. Since well, it is called a QA analyst, but I assume it's a manual QA tester. Anyway, you have to like write test cases, execute them. If they fail, you raise a bug report and you report that to your development team or QA manager or whoever you need to report. And
Correct.
when you join the team, get yourself. I mean try to write down who is doing what, who is developer, who is designer, who is your QA manager or QA colleague, so you know who is who, so you know who you can address questions regarding bugs, testing, system, you know. Also ask them if you're gonna be provided with a supervisor, so you can address any questions to that person, or maybe it's gonna be your QA manager, or maybe your QA colleague. So you need to have somebody you can talk to if you have any questions about the system, about the testing, about test cases, whatever. But just if you have any questions and you don't know who address them to, just ask your manager like, hey, um, I have a question here, so can you help me with that, or just give me an idea who I can talk to about this matter? And they definitely will give you time to get accommodated, to understand the system, and get used to the team and to the processes. So you're gonna have time, but do your the best you can. Just do your job the way you have to do that, right? And everything will be fine. Let me ask you this question. How long did it take you to land a job? Like from the moment you started applying and when you to the moment you got the job job offer?
Yes. So I um, edited my job boards, LinkedIn, Dice, ZipRecruiter, Indeed. I did that, I want to say, in the middle of May, May 13th or 12th. And then I started applying at about the end of June, to be honest. June 23rd, June 24th was when I started applying to positions. This opportunity, the recruiter called me and they told me that they found my information on Dice. And so they wanted to speak with me. I did a screening call with the recruiter, the account manager for the recruiters, and I believe a supervisor. And then they scheduled my interview with Cigna.
So basically, roughly like 1 month from end June to end, well, it's not end July, so less than a month, right?
Yes, yes, actually,
Oh,
now that we're talking about this, I'm realizing.
well, nice. Interview coaching classes. What, how did these classes help you? So what was the something that helped you pass this interview?
Um, Through the coaching, I would say, is when I started to look at the "tell me about yourself" question differently, to be completely honest. They kind of gave me the perspective of almost looking at it like a pitch, but a conversational pitch, and figuring out a way to talk about your experience and tie in the truth about why you applied. You have the experience for the job description. Now you just want to explain how you've gained that experience through your previous experience to kind of bring them up to date with where you are. I feel like that was extremely helpful for me, to tell me about yourself, and kind of taking the time to figure out the transferable skills and how they can kind of cross into, and a lot of role play with situational questions. So, how would you write a bug report? Um, how would you create a test case? Uh, what do you do if a developer says there's not a bug? It's not a bug. That was something else that he asked me.
How did you
Uh,
reply to this question?
I stated from my previous, I tied it into a previous job experience. One of my places of employment, the EMR system that we were using was called Nimble. Um, I found a bug. I felt that it was a bug because I compared it against the product requirement documents and it was contradicting against the specifications. So I felt as though it was a bug. So I reported it. The developer took it off of the for review, and he basically said, not reproducible. It's not a bug. I raised the bug again in Jira. And this time I attached snippets from the product requirement documents as to exactly where I felt like it was contradicting and why I felt it was a bug. And I just asked him if he would be open to reviewing it with me once more. And then I also just at my lead at that time and just asked if she would mind stepping in and kind of making that final decision for us as to what would become of it. And then I told him about the solution, which was once my lead stepped in, she did agree that it did contradict with the specifications. And so it was a bug that he had to review um, in that sprint. But then I also did mention that I'm very adaptable in different work environments. And if it is an environment where what the developer says goes, I am open to that too. And I just threw that out there because I didn't want to seem like, you know, um, so And another thing that they stressed as well was to communicate that you work well on your own and you don't need a lot of oversight to get things done, but at the same time, you do enjoy working in a collaborative environment towards a common goal. Um, so those were the tips. I hope that that's helpful. To be honest, it was more of like psychology type stuff for the interview. Just like positioning the way that you're explaining your experience because you study all this time with LearnX. You go through the internship, you physically did the work. Um, I honestly found that it was just having the confidence to believe in myself enough to properly explain the experience that I built. Um, and yeah, so I think the coaching helped with that a lot.
Yeah. So tell me please, is it on-site job, hybrid, remote? What kind of site?
It's remote fully.
Okay.
How, two questions. How
Yes.
many interviews did you do? Was this the first and only one? And did they give you any, I guess you haven't started yet, but have they given you any indication on what the onboarding will consist of? Like how long for the onboarding and et cetera, et cetera?
Yes. So with the onboarding, they sent me a slew of documents today, and it had the whole I-9 and all of those things, the information about benefits and things of that nature. They did tell me that next week they'll be mailing the equipment to me. I did have to do a background check and a drug test. I hopped on a few minutes late because I was trying to get to the urgent care just to get that out of the way. Um, so that's part of the background check as well. Equipment next week. And then they did say that there will be about 2.5 weeks of training with a QA lead on the specific plan codes and rates and contracts that I'll have to be testing. So they're going to review with me for about 2.5 weeks. I'm assuming it's going to be, I'll probably watch them the majority of the time. And then maybe, they, I drive and they watch me and kind of critique me in that way. I hope that that answered that question.
That's very good. Thank you.
Okay. And then there was another part of that question.
It was how many interviews did you do prior to that?
Yes. So officially, this was my first one. But I went through a role play of doing an actual interview, as if I was doing it with a QA lead or a hiring manager for, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks prior to doing it. So I think that that helped kind of just memorizing what I would say in certain situations, getting that pitch down, proving to them as soon as they asked me to tell them about myself that like what I previously was doing is what they're asking for right now.
Your personality really comes through. I could
Oh, thank you.
I could see how I would hire you. I mean, you seem knowledgeable, well spoken, confident, and you think that coaching helps?
I
How are you
do.
before?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your words. I would say this is my personality. But the coaching gave me the confidence to, I had no IT experience prior to this. So even just the theory and the concepts of testing and all of those things, like it kind of just, I like to communicate very clearly. And so I was just very nervous that I wasn't going to be able to properly communicate my experience and really get them to understand that, yes, I do know what you're talking about and I can do it. And so I feel that the coaching definitely helped with that because it just allows you to just get all of the nervousness and the like ooh, I don't know, what would I say? You kind of start to figure it out when you just do it over and over and over again. It gives you the comfortability, I feel.
Thank you so much.
No
Two,
problem. Thank
two
you so much.
questions. Two questions here for you. Well, first, I'd like to say congratulations to you. And
Thank
the first question I had was, how many years of QA experience do you list on your resume?
Great question. So this was something else that I did feel was useful within the coaching. So they really sat down with me and walked through my previous work experience and kind of asked me what I previously was doing. And that was when I kind of realized that I was doing testing in the sense within my job, testing what I was working every day. And so when I added that up, it was 4 years. So when I went into the interview, you know, on the basically that was another question, why should we hire you? The angle that I kind of went from was like, you know, I have a unique combination of skills. I have been processing medical health claims in that industry for 8 years, and I've been testing within this space for 4 years. You know, this positions me, et cetera, et cetera. So if you can do that, if you can kind of sit down, if whatever industry you were in before, and kind of think like, was I actually kind of like, was I letting them know if there was issues with the system, or, you know, did I notice this, or, you know, any kind of testing? Maybe you weren't actually doing test cases and bug reports and things like that, but like you, sometimes we're performing exploratory testing all the time and we don't even realize, like, on the stuff that we're working on. And so I sat down with that and kind of realized, and I was like, oh, wow, there's actually like 4 years of testing in there prior to me learning from Learnix. Okay, let me figure out a way to properly position that in the way that I explain my job experience when I do my tell me about yourself. And when they ask me situational questions, I'll bring up examples from my previous jobs with those things. And maybe you weren't writing test cases or bug reports or whatever, but it's still experience that brought you to Learnix and to here. So that's how I tied that in. So right now I'm going with 4 years testing within the healthcare space. And I've been processing healthcare claims for like 9 years now.
Stan, that's very helpful.
You never, like, you don't know what they're going to ask you on the interview, but I think from what I learned from them is the best thing you can do is get your pitch down really, really well. Get your tell me about yourself down really, really well. Obviously, you have to practically have the skills, but, you know, get that pitch down really well, and then just really practice situational questions. The role playing really helped.
Thank you. That's very helpful. You brighten my day a bit, because what initially brought me to LearnX is that I felt like that in my prior profession that a lot of what you do in testing aligned with what I previously had done in my prior profession as well. So thank you very much.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have an edge, man. You have an edge. Definitely, like, you know, sit with yourself and be like, okay, how can I position this as these are all transferable skills? Everything was building up to now. So that's awesome. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Something else that I think suggest is I had previously applied to Cigna years ago within my industry, and I didn't get a response. I applied directly, but this was through a recruiting agency. So that would be another suggestion that I would have for you. Like, you're very qualified. Maybe as you're saying, like, I have no problem giving them the resume, but, you know, that middle person working with a recruiter, I have not really directly done anything where I applied directly to the position myself. Like, I was screened by the recruiter, and then so I would suggest that as well. And building those connections. There are a few recruiters that I have, like, on my LinkedIn that I've spoken with, and they'll tell you about the opportunity and things like that. And I kind of just keep their contact information.
Question, is that manual or automation?
Manual.
Thanks.
It's reviewing the way that insurance plans are pricing and kind of doing data validation off of that. And if it's not pricing the way that it should, I'm reporting those bugs.
Do you have a degree? Any kind of degrees?
I do not. I just have my high school diploma. I'm currently working towards my computer science degree in cybersecurity because I think that ethical hacking is kind of cool. But I do not currently, but I did. I actually went through Learnix a year ago. And then I moved states because my apartment flooded. But in that time, I kept studying, walking around my house like a nut, answering what different types of testing were. And I went and got my certifications from ISTQB in foundational automation and agile. I don't in any way think that that's required. It was just something that I felt that I personally needed to do to give an edge for myself, really to make myself believe in myself more, to pitch myself better. Because nothing, I wouldn't say that anything really like changed in that sense. I don't think that it's necessary at all. But I did get that in the meantime to be able to discuss.
I just
Oh.
Googled DICE. I never heard of it before you just mentioned it.
Yes, I would highly, 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 highly recommend. I'll get like voicemails on my phone and they'll be like, hey, this is so-and-so. I found your profile on DICE and I have a position for et cetera, et cetera. And I thought that you might want to, and you never know, you don't know what's going to become of it, but just to know that like you have the options there to review, I would highly, highly recommend like go on the job boards and really set up your profile really, really well. And to be honest with you, that's what I did. I just really practiced my interview so that I'd be ready once I found something that I felt was appropriate for me. Yeah, the recruiters from the job boards, highly, highly recommend.
No, I guess.
No more questions. Thank you for spending this time with us to answer some questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope that I was helpful to you guys. I know that this is kind of a very specific situation that I experienced, but I hope that you guys are able to pull something from it. And I wish you all the best. You guys are going to find exactly what you're looking for, and it's going to be awesome.